you were a Democrat.
I was my whole life.
Really?
And I used to have a group called Teachers United For Immigrant Rights.
And what do you think of Trump now? What do you think of his policies on deportation?
You know what? I can't tell you specifics about his policies, but what I will tell you is that it was not for Donald Trump, we might still be living next to gang members.
Gunfights, prostitution, child trafficking in the heart of suburban America.
They sent him over to talk to us and tell us that there was no problems. He was the guy that killed them.
One woman lost her home. An entire community lived in fear.
No, there was bullets flying over my head. I can show you bullets over here on a bollard.
Wow.
Two of them right there.
So that's aiming towards your house?
Absolutely.
The authorities turned their backs.
They released the alien to the street out a side door, and those ICE officers had to chase that person around a parking lot to try to make that arrest, when the jail could have allowed that arrest to occur in a safe location inside the jail.
Do you think that those people who have committed crimes in the US, who are undocumented or illegal migrants, should they be deported?
I think they have no comment.
We tracked down the migrants.
De los 77,000 que votaron por el presidente Trump, el 50% están arrepentidos. Por favor, ¿cómo van a votar por ese señor?
The victims.
Terrified. I can't think about it now without getting emotional about it. It was terrifying.
And the enforcers.
I worked the street my whole life. They took away a tool that we had that we could make the city safer.
This is the real story of illegal migration in America from the streets of Denver.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi.
My first stop, victims of migrant crime.
Dave.
Glad to meet you.
Hi. Okay, so you guys have formed a little community watch or a neighbourhood watch, is that right?
Yes.
So this is your home, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you live here.
Yes.
And you personally have had some issues with the migrants, is that right?
Oh, absolutely.
So what's happened to you? Have you...
Well, I mean, I've walked out here just watering my lawn and walked out into gunfights and chased a couple of clowns running and playing chase around my truck with guns and stuff like that out.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You say that so nonchalantly, like there were gunfights.
It became the thing. It became the thing.
Where did this stuff happen? Can you show us?
Well, I was moving my sprinkler right around in here, and obviously I couldn't see through my bush there, but yeah, no, there was bullets flying over my head. I can show you bullets over here on a bollard.
Wow.
Two of them right there.
So that's aiming towards your house? Your
Absolutely.
property.
Absolutely.
Did you feel unsafe?
I was concerned. I was most certainly concerned, and I mean, I thought about going in and grabbing my own pistol just because.
They were illegals?
Oh yes, oh yes. Venezuelan. Most of those people they drug out of those apartments after they finally shut them down was here illegally. So there's a group of about 8 or 9 up high, and then there's a group of down here in the bottom.
So these here?
Yes, them and them.
Obviously, you had gunfights. Was there anything else that happened near your house that you were concerned about?
Well, yeah. I mean, that prostitution in the alley.
Really?
Yeah. Child trafficking in the alley a little bit.
The main story that kind of went all around the world wasn't this shooting that happened just over here, but it was this apartment block.
Yes.
Is that right?
Right. There were other shootings that happened that the public didn't hear about, but the shootings that the public heard about because of the video that went viral happened over here. And there was a lot of racing around. Like, imagine going down this alley at 60 miles an hour and then like passing my garage. I didn't exactly feel safe. When I would drive down the alley, they might call me in Spanish, puta. So, but my husband said, keep driving down. Don't let them intimidate you.
Yeah.
But it was intimidating, And then the gunshots happened.
In August 2024, an apartment block in Aurora was racked with violence when a Venezuelan gang took over the building.
And now the apartments look like kind of Fort Knox. They're all sort of, there's a
Right.
lot of security. You can see, what's that? Is that sort of load of cameras?
Yep, security cameras.
So obviously you experienced all these difficult things with crime in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
How did that kind of change your perspective on politics?
Changed a lot for me. I have never had a negative experience with an immigrant before. My entire life I was an ESL teacher, I worked with immigrants for the last 30 years. I was planning on voting for Kamala up until October. And I could not bring myself to do it. I had reached out to her campaign several times because by this point, this was a international story. Nobody got back to me, or any other Democrat for that matter. And I thought, how can I vote for people who didn't have my back, didn't care about myself or my neighbors? So I voted for Trump.
So you were a Democrat?
I was
Have you
my
always
whole
been a
life.
Really?
I first voted for Bill Clinton and voted Democrat every single year until, November.
And what do you think of Trump now? What do you think of his policies on deportation?
You know what? I can't tell you specifics about his policies, but what I will tell you is that it was not for Donald Trump, we might still be living next to gang members because everything changed after he was elected.
Now, I know you said you were a gun owner.
I am.
Yeah. Are you a gun owner?
Now we are.
Because of this?
Yes.
So you've turned from like a Democrat, Bill Clinton supporter to now a gun owner. Did you think that would happen?
Never in my life. I'm the last person, absolutely the last person. I used to have a group called Teachers United For Immigrant Rights. We can't just have anyone cross the border. And if they're showing us that their intentions are not to live in a peaceful way with us, then why not deport them? And so people are arguing about the policies of that, and they're talking about due process. But I think we need to look at, do we interpret due process for people who have crossed our border illegally differently than U.S. citizens? Because I think we also have due process, right? I mean, we're talking about the right to live peacefully.
Do you kind of feel a bit traumatized by this stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, completely trauma. I don't think I'm ever, like I said, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get over this. Because, like I said, it's not only the crimes that were committed here, but the fact that the community turned their back on us.
I'm just overall angry all the way around. It should have never, ever, ever been allowed to happen if that border would have actually been controlled and you knew who was coming and you knew who was going. This probably would have never, ever, ever happened.
Next, I met the woman who exposed what was happening inside the apartment complex, Cindy Romero.
So you have a lot of security on your door, I can see.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, you were seeing these immigrants and these gang members with guns. They were exhibiting antisocial behavior. You said drag races.
Oh, drag races, parties, prostitution, selling drugs. They did not hide it. There was a base floor apartment that we had to pass by their windows every day to walk into the building. And they would have their curtains all open. And it was nothing to see piles of cocaine and other drugs just laying around.
So you videoed a lot of the things that were going on in your apartment. Now, in this apartment, you have other video cameras, right? Like this one.
Yes.
Is there one over there?
Yeah, that's one
Where
right
else?
there. And there's one to your right. And there's the one in my bedroom and two outside my front door.
Have you got some videos you can show me? Oh, here we
That's
go.
the famous video. Earlier that morning, I had seen them with those guns, the long ones. They have 3 of them. And these 6 gentlemen were carrying them down the steps from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor. So on the day that they were earlier this morning, they were walking down the stairs. They got behind that brick and they seen me seeing them.
Wow.
And I called the police. And they sent the guy that they were looking for here. They sent him over to talk to us and tell us that there was no problems, no policia, We're all familia. The guns are here to protect us. He was the guy they killed that night. Yeah, 10 minutes after this video happened, they killed somebody in my front parking lot.
How did it make you feel when you were seeing the guns?
Terrified. I can't think about it now without getting emotional about it. It was terrifying. I was a Democrat. I believed in gun control. I believe in strict gun control laws. I believe in keeping guns out of the hands of children. I believe in all those things until it happened to me. And then I firmly believe now that gun rights and gun control laws, they help the criminal. This is one of the videos of them breaking into the actual apartment. This is the viciousness of these people. And I've got videos of them actually making it in. But once the people abandoned the apartments, they would send people over there to knock on the door, to try the doorknob, to do different things. That's my husband's car. They put a bullet in it, and there's still a bullet in his car. They never dug it out because it would have done too much damage to the interior of his car to dig it out. I don't remember the last time I slept more than 5 hours. I don't remember that. That's it's been quite some time. My husband, his sleep is back to normal, but he does not leave the house without a gun. He does not leave the house.
So you obviously feel unsafe, and you've armed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got the weapons here?
Oh, yeah.
Can you show us?
I do not have them all here. My husband, like I said, is out of town, and he sometimes takes them with him.
Wow.
There's
so
one.
it's in the sofa.
Actually, you see this picture?
Yeah.
If you open it, you can put a gun in there. So when I say my husband makes sure I'm safe when he is gone.
So you're ready.
I also have I have a shotgun, a regular old school shotgun, and I have 2 other handguns that my husband has.
Do you feel that you're sort of prepared to use them?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Prepared to kill?
Prepared to protect myself, especially after all this. Oh, yeah.
To gain another perspective, I visited the Village Exchange Centre, a former church now serving as a migrant charity offering free food to immigrants. There, I met a man who crossed the southern border illegally.
So Alex, can you tell us where you came from and how you came to the US?
Vengo de Venezuela y nos venimos caminando de Venezuela hacia acá, duramos 3 meses. Pasamos la selva del Darién, nos montamos en el tren de la muerte y llegamos hasta acá.
So you came through the southern border?
Sí, yes.
How did you make it through the southern border? How did you get into the US? Did you walk across the border?
Yes, caminando.
Yes, walking.
And what is your legal status now?
Bueno, ahorita nos acaban de entregar los papeles, gracias a Dios, antes que el presidente tomara como tal todo, porque lamentablemente el presidente ahorita no quiere nada con los inmigrantes.
Do you think that immigrants are scared of being deported by President Trump?
Claro, actualmente ha deportado demasiados inmigrantes cubanos, venezolanos, de Nicaragua, Honduras.
So you think there's a kind of fear of deportation by the president?
Claro.
Of course.
Do you think that too many people are being deported from the US?
Yes.
Demasiado. Nada más esta semana en una discoteca agarraron a 200 inmigrantes de todas nacionalidades y lo deportaron. Ya no nos sentimos ni seguros ni en la iglesia, ni los niños en la escuela, ni nada de eso, gracias al presidente Trump.
But if these people have entered the country illegally without the proper paperwork, isn't it only right that they should be deported because they are illegal migrants?
Bueno, en las situaciones que se encuentran todos los países es lo que hemos todo tomado en ese sentido de pasar ilegalmente para acá, para los Estados Unidos. 1000 veces se lo hemos pedido disculpas por haber pasado abreviadamente a los Estados Unidos, pero no había otra solución gracias a que los presidentes de nuestro país nos sirven.
A lot of American citizens would argue that it's their country, it's their laws, people should respect the laws when they're coming into the US. And if your first action is to break the law by entering the country illegally, then they have every right to deport you.
Sí, claro, pero es que eso no es de ahorita. Siempre ha existido aquí muchos inmigrantes que han venido de todos los países. Lamentablemente nos tocó a nosotros como venezolanos que el presidente no sirve para nada, pero eso no es de ahorita que hay inmigrantes aquí. De igual manera, aquí también siempre ha habido delincuentes, siempre ha habido droga, siempre ha habido todo ese tipo de arbitrariedad que hay aquí en los Estados Unidos. No porque llegamos nosotros, está existiendo eso, ya eso existía desde antes.
What do you say to the American citizens in Aurora whose apartment blocks were taken over by Venezuelan gangs and they had to leave those apartment blocks? And their argument is these people should never have been in the US. They were illegally came in. The American authorities didn't know anything about them. And now they're here causing problems, causing crime, murdering people and so on.
Bueno, yo en mi caso yo digo que el que está haciendo lo malo o lo malo aquí en los Estados Unidos, por mí lo pueden deportar, pero no por uno vamos a pagar todo. Todos no vinimos a hacer lo malo aquí. Por lo menos yo colaboro aquí en esta iglesia. Si aquí hay, qué sé yo, 2 millones de venezolanos que hayan aquí en los Estados Unidos, no están viviendo en la calle, todos están pagando habitaciones en los apartamentos, todos estamos generándole plata a los Estados Unidos y trabajándole a los Estados Unidos.
On the other hand, so obviously there are many people, migrants, who are, as you say, contributing to the American economy. But 77 million people voted for Donald Trump last year in part because they were concerned about illegal migration, crime, drugs coming across the border, human trafficking, all of these things we saw in the Aurora apartment block. So yes, some illegal migrants are contributing to the economy, but on the other hand, millions of Americans are concerned about crime, drugs, and other issues. Do you have a message to those Americans, the 77 million who voted for Trump, who also have those concerns?
De los 77,000 que votaron por el presidente Trump, el 50% están arrepentidos. Un mensaje al presidente Trump, como usted lo acaba de decir, es que, por favor, entreguen el papel a los que quieren trabajar para que crezca más su país.
But also, a lot of immigrants and Latino people voted for President Trump.
Ya serían los que tienen tiempo aquí porque todo lo que pasaron de el 2020 para acá no tienen papel. Lo que votaron aquí fueron los hijos de los mexicanos que nacieron aquí. Y hoy en día están arrepentidos porque fueron los primeros que sacaron a los tíos, abuelos, todos los no pensaron en lo que estaban de la pared allá, porque lo primero que dijo el presidente Trump es una cosa que es lógica. Lo primero que dijo el presidente Trump fue que dijo que cuando ganara la presidencia iba a terminar el muro de los Estados Unidos contra México. Por favor, ¿cómo van a votar por ese señor?
It sounds like to me that you're a fan of President Biden.
No que sea un fan del presidente Biden, lo que pasa es que estaba haciendo la cosa como correcta. No había pasado esta economía que está pasando ahorita. No había tenido problemas con otros países tales como Canadá, México, la China.
And with the deportations.
Y con las deportaciones.
Peor.
Worse.
Since President Trump's election, the Village Exchange Center has lost millions of dollars in funding from the federal government.
My name is Jen Broyles. I am the Director of Operations for Village Exchange Center here in Aurora. We are a multicultural resource center for folks in the community, serving primarily refugees, immigrants, under-resourced folks.
And are some of these migrants undocumented immigrants?
It's not a requirement
Yeah.
of the food pantry for us to gather that information.
So obviously Trump has been elected president, and this has been going on for a few years, the Village Exchange Center. What impact has his presidency had so far on what's happened with you guys?
Well, what we're seeing in the community is a lot of fear, concern over coming to get resources. Some of the folks may even, be working and have jobs, but for that fear, their children aren't going to school, they can't go to work, they're not earning money, which requires them to seek assistance with other resources.
So you've seen more migrants come since he's been elected president?
We've seen a major influx, and with Denver being a sanctuary city, Aurora also sees a lot of that.
What about the people who say, well, look, a lot of this illegal migration has caused issues with crime. We were in the apartment block complex yesterday where Venezuelan gang members kind of took over part of the apartment complex. There was gunfights, murders. We spoke to some of the local community there who felt scared, frankly, about some of these Venezuelan gangs, particularly the illegal migrants. What do you say to those people who are concerned about their safety and the safety of American citizens because of illegal migration?
I'd say that I think that that everybody's afraid for their safety, right? There was a migration because of safety. They're here to seek safety, right? And so that's where we all need to work together to create a safe environment.
Do you think that those people who have committed crimes in the US, who are undocumented or illegal migrants, should they be deported?
I think they have No comment.
You have a no comment.
I have a no comment.
With Trump back in the White House and deportations ramping up, I wanted to hear from someone who enforced the law and saw how Biden let it slide.
My name is John Fabricatore. I'm a retired field office director for Immigration Customs Enforcement. I spent 30 years with the United States government, 23 years with Immigration Customs Enforcement.
You were in ICE during the Biden administration. What was that like under Biden?
It was very difficult for me under the Biden administration. So I was in upper leadership at the time. I was a deputy field office director and then the field office director. And with the Biden administration, they just really ignored the law. What they were allowing to happen at the border by allowing millions of unvetted people to come into the U.S., it really caused a lot of issues. It caused a lot of morale problems for a lot of the agents that were working on the street, knowing that this administration was just letting unvetted criminals come into the U.S., and then they were having to make these arrests in the interior.
Now, the estimates of how many illegals are in the US vary massively. It could be anywhere between 10, 20 million, perhaps even more than that. And Trump hasn't deported as many people as some people hope for. I think it's been about 140,000 detained and deported in 100 days. Why do you think Trump is struggling to meet that kind of mass deportation target?
I really don't view it as a struggle because I think he's trying the best that he can with the resources that he has. You have to remember, for the last 4 years, we let in millions of people and did nothing. And now we're in this point where we're trying to make these deportations when we have limited detention space. We've got about 45 to 47,000 beds available right now. During the Biden administration, they had way less, 20-something thousand to 30,000. You have the left pushing back on President Trump constantly with deportations. They're willing to go down to El Salvador for a gang member, and they push back on every single deportation that President Trump does.
So there was a case recently where ICE officers went to a Denver jail and tried to arrest an illegal alien. Can you describe what happened?
They released the alien to the street out a side door, and those ICE officers had to chase that person around a parking lot to try to make that arrest, when the jail could have allowed that arrest to occur in a safe location inside the jail. They refused to do that, and they put ICE agents at risk.
So local politicians, including the mayor, have defended the city's sanctuary policies and saying it's helped build trust with the entire Denver community. How do you respond to that?
It's, again, political theater. They're all talking. I was part of a heroin operation here in Denver, where we were buying drugs. We had undercovers buying drugs from Honduran illegal aliens on the Cherry Creek Trail. We had arrested about 40 of them when the city of Denver found out that ICE was down there making these arrests. They wound up kicking us out of the area, saying they didn't want us down there working with Denver PD when we were making arrests on heroin dealers. So for them, it's not about stopping crime. It's about this leftist attitude about open borders and not allowing ICE to do its job. That's what sanctuary jurisdictions do. Sanctuary jurisdictions keep ICE from working with local law enforcement, taking heroin dealers off the street, and instead try to kick ICE off of a task force so that these heroin dealers can go about their daily business just because they're from a different country.
Denver operates as a de facto sanctuary city, barring local police from cooperating with federal immigration authorities. I spoke to a former officer, Nick Rogers, about what that means on the ground.
How did it make you feel as a police officer in Denver not being able to cooperate with the federal authorities?
It hurts me because I was a cop for 36 years. And for those 36 years, I gave everything to the city and county of Denver and to the citizens. I never mailed it in once. I worked the street my whole life. They took away a tool that we had that we could make the city safer. And I was the president of our union for 20 years. You think I didn't violate their rule? I did. I contacted ICE after that came through. I had a very slim, small level of what you might consider protection. because I was the president of the union. What's a 2-year cop on the job gonna do? He's not gonna call ICE. I mean, he's gonna get himself fired. He's not gonna do that. I can tell you that they destroyed morale. They destroyed the city. They ruined Denver, and they're continuing to ruin it even more.
We asked the Denver Police Department for an interview and they said no, but they did send us a statement, and I want to quote some of the statement to you and get you to react to it. So the Denver Police Department said that they follow all of the municipal ordinances and Colorado law which prohibit assisting with civil federal immigration law enforcement. The Denver PD focuses on preventing and addressing criminal activity and not inquiring about immigration status to build trust with all community members. So how do you respond to Denver PD who say, look, we're just trying to be inclusive here, and actually crime hasn't gone up because of these migrants?
You know, statistics can be manipulated in so many different ways. What they said is they follow their municipal ordinances and statutes and whatever. That's what made them a sanctuary city. They're the ones that enacted them. Inclusive means including the people that pay their taxes and the God-fearing people that are United States citizens. And unfortunately, there's a path to citizenship, but they chose not to take it.
Not everyone sees sanctuary policies as a problem. On the streets of Denver, I asked locals what they think.
I think it's an incredible thing if we can actually maintain that. It's really scary if the federal government comes and tries to change that, because we've been this way for a long time. Some of the first European settlers here were Spanish-speaking people, and so I think it's really important to maintain that.
We were in Aurora and we were interviewing some people who their apartment block had been taken over by Venezuelan gangs. What did you make of that story?
I mean, I haven't seen the gangs myself. I've heard that, certain groups are just trying to make a community where they're not getting any resources. So I can't speak to that because I don't know.
For some people, sanctuary city policies are controversial because they're helping illegal migrants who came into the country illegally. Illegal immigrants came here through the right way. So what do you think of this kind of controversy? Which side are you on?
Honestly,
I'm okay with them.
I'm okay with anyone going anywhere. I think everybody should have a right to their freedom of where they want to go, what they want to do.
Last year, Trump promised to deport millions of illegal migrants. These mass deportations. You think that's wrong? Why is that?
Because if you are a good person and you actually are trying to make your way to have a life, then you should be allowed to be there. Absolutely.
Even if they came into the country illegally?
Yes. I've never had a problem with an illegal immigrant taking my job. I've never had a problem with an illegal immigrant, causing crime or raising any crime that wasn't already there.
We spoke to some people in Aurora whose apartment block was taken over by Venezuelan gangs. There was gunfights, someone was murdered. So from their perspective, that those people should be deported.
Right. And hey, I mean, and maybe the deportation, maybe not even so much, but I mean, it's me personally, I feel like the police need more funding.
So Denver is a sanctuary city. What do you make of that?
We're not from Denver.
Okay. You don't have to be from Denver to have an opinion on it. I mean, so basically they don't cooperate with ICE, a local law enforcement. They don't let ICE deport some of those criminals from the jails. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I don't think it's that simple.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other.
Yeah.
It's good and it's bad at the same time.
Trump last year promised to deport millions of illegal migrants. Do you support his program of mass deportations?
That's still not a yes or no answer.
Okay.
You have to do something about the border. What he's doing is mostly chaos and not really very effective.
One of the policies that sanctuary cities like Denver enact is not working with ICE, not working with federal law enforcement to deport some of the illegal migrants who are in jails, for example.
Right.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Well, yes and no questions are very hard.
Yeah.
To back up a little, it's not that we don't cooperate, it's that we have laws. We are a city of laws, a state of laws, and a nation of laws. And in the city of Denver, we follow the laws.
We interviewed some people in Aurora whose apartment block was taken over by Venezuelan gangs last year. You probably saw the story. And this woman had to move.
Saw the story.
Yeah. So what do you make of that story? Because the people we spoke to said, well, these people should be deported.
Well, again, this is like my theme when I'm talking about this subject is it's not that simple. Was the complex taken over? There was no evidence that there was a ruling party of TDA people there who were ruling the apartment complex. Were there problems? Yes. Were there problems long ago? Yes. So I can't answer that question because I disagree
with the premise.
With the premise of the question.
There were videos of gang members with guns. There was a murder outside of the apartment block. There was torture.
There was a murder on the 16th Street Mall. And I haven't heard anyone say, and I live in the city, I don't own a car, I walk everywhere, so I'm always in downtown. No one is saying that, oh, it's TDA and they're responsible for every bad thing that happens in the city and county of Denver.
The story of Denver reflects a nation divided between security and sanctuary, between enforcement and empathy. Trump's mass deportation plan is now in motion, promising to tackle the crisis head on. What follows could reshape the country and change America forever.